それでは登壇者をご紹介いたしましょう。メルカリディレクタープラットフォームプロダクトショック、メルカリシニアエンジニアリングマネージャーマルコ・ガンチ、メルカリシニアエンジニアリングマネージャーアンリ・ディグホルム、メルカリシニアエンジニアリングマネージャーラファエル・フライズ、そしてファシリテーターはメルカリ VP of プラットフォームマイケル・ギャロウェイが務めます。Mr. Galloway, the floor is yours.
Thank you. All right, thank you everybody for joining us today. I know it's been an interesting day already. We're here with the platform engineering organization leadership at Mercari, and we want to talk a little bit more in depth about how we are both utilizing AI inside of our platform and how we are looking at supporting our engineering customers with as they are approaching utilizing AI to solve some of their problems. So platform engineering exists in order to enable the rest of the engineering teams to move fast and solve problems. So I want to turn to each of you and hear your thoughts in terms of the investments that you think are key ones to talk about from how platform is using AI internally. So I'll start with Raphael down here. And Raphael, do you want to quickly also just share what's your role in platform?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the occasion to talk here today. So I'm managing the engineering enablement group under platform. So basically we care about enabling all our engineers in the company across all the domains, mobile, web, backend, into being very proactive and able to create a lot of value for the company. And so quickly to go through what we have been doing about leveraging AI in our activities over the past 6 months. I think we focused a lot, of course, on getting people to understand how to use AI in their day-to-day workflow, with especially Cloud Code to have fast local loop for our engineers. But more from a platform engineering standpoint, we have been focusing a lot on reducing the cost for code migrations. And I have 2 examples in mind. One is using an MCP server to migrate to our Go code bases to a standardized, curated version of what we provide centrally. And another one was about our web code base with the app router migration, where we used Cloud agents to migrate almost half of our routes for our web application over the past quarter. So that's overall what we did on our side.
All right, thank you. Next up, let's talk to Anri. Anri, share a little bit about what you do on platform and how you all are using AI internally.
Sure. So yeah, my name is Anri Digholm, and I take care of, I'm the MOM for the platform autonomous cloud, we call it. So it's SRE, DBRE, network observability, platform infrastructure, search infrastructure, and FinOps. So it's quite a big group of people. And yeah, in short, the way that we've been adopting AI is pretty much the same as Raphael. Mainly, the engineers have been using it to improve the way that we debug. That has been the biggest change for us, is that we're using it to decrease our MTTR by basically feeding metrics, logs and traces and everything like that into an LLM that we adjust the context, usually Claude Code or Gemini CLI, and that will allow us to find the problem much quicker. We also use Devin for this, which has been really great because we can feed many repos into there and again build up that context to find the problem much quicker. But I guess we'll dive more into those details later. But that's one of the main things we've been doing.
Thank you. All right. Next up, Marco.
Hello, everyone. This is Marco speaking. I'm leading currently the business core organization under platform. We are basically providing core services to the entire Mercari group. To give you concrete example, IDP, identity, foundational service, notification, media management, but also core API. How do we use AI? First of all, we create funny picture of our leader, so that's the best use of AI, right? And joke aside, so we are at the boundaries between platform and product, because we provide services that are used directly from our customers. For this reason, we have a lot of interaction with different product engineering teams across the organization, and we get a lot of requests. How can I use this service? How can I configure this service? How much is going to cost me this service? And to solve this problem, we started to develop our own autonomous support, basically AI solution to autonomously replying to product engineering inquiries. It's a first step because it's based basically on domain knowledge, but we were able to address 25% of the queries directly with good precision. So definitely there is more to do in the future, but I think it's a solid first step.
So before we go on to Shok, I'm just curious from a raise of hands in the audience here. So I'm going to make you guys interact with us. Of the folks that have been in engineering, I'm curious, when you think about 25% of support requests being handled potentially by AI, when you are interacting with a platform organization, does that sound like a meaningful thing to you if you raise your hand? Yeah. And for those in platform, I'm curious, how many of you feel like 25% reduction in your time that you need to provide support, meaning you're able to provide better support, faster support, at least 25% of the time? How much of that is meaningful to you? Raise your hand. Yeah. I think I want to emphasize this because it sounds like it's not a lot. In some cases, you might think, well, there's a lot of effort, but it's only 25%. But this is just the start. And this is just the beginning of us understanding how to do this well. And when we talk about this, we're talking about making the lives of engineers who want to get something done, making their lives faster, easier, and better. And so I really want to highlight that.
Also, multiply the 25% for an organization of 40 people. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's a lot.
All right, Shok, you're next.
Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Shok. I'm the director of Platform Product, which is a team of technical product managers whose job is basically to identify the investments, the work that we do, and also prioritize the work because we are limited in resources. I'll keep it short.
All right, thank you. And any of you guys, you can jump in. I'm curious, as folks that are coming here in engineering organizations at other companies, and they're sitting here and they're listening to support bots, and they're sitting here and they're listening to bots that help potentially reduce MTTR. What might be some of the learnings? Because we didn't just turn this on and it just suddenly worked. Is there any insights you could share that you guys learned, if you were to do this over again, that you would want to share for the folks in the audience if they tried to do something similar? Yeah.
So one very important aspect as a result of our analysis, so 25% of the requests we could answer based on domain knowledge. So documentation, past tickets, conversation on Slack, Confluence, Jira ticket, code base. But we also realized that many of the requests we cannot answer because they require some action. So action like opening a pull request, action filling a ticket, action configuring a system. So I think a big lesson learned was, okay, domain knowledge is the key, and you require to produce a very good documentation for that, but it's not enough to provide a proper experience.
Raphael, what about you? Any insights you can share?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty hard since it's a new field and everyone is trying to understand how to leverage it and where to apply it or not. And I think there is a lot of need for experimenting because what we learned, most of the things we learned is through experimentation. I think initially, of course, there are many people skeptical about is AI happening somewhere or not, but there is still not enough nuance on understanding where AI really helps and where it doesn't help and why it helps or why it doesn't help. And so I think through our cycle of figuring out how to leverage AI, for example, I was talking about code migrations. It's very hard generally code migrations because you have a lot of things to do to ensure the quality and you ensure that your new systems, they are not like regressing. And so we had a lot of issues. For example, we started with MCPs to try to get some migration logic. It worked for some cases, but as soon as you get at scale, like more use cases, it starts failing. Same for agent-based. So we are also in the process of figuring out what is the best approach that is for which problem, so that we can define what is the appropriate solution. I think generally recently we have much more success with agentic workflows migration. The one I was talking about, app router migration, is really about a more specific agent that has been made for that use case and that works in that use case, but it will not work generally for other things. So for us, it's to identify what are the strengths and the weaknesses of the different approach and start composing a more general and comprehensive way to handle our entire engineering scope.
Thank you. Okay, Anri, you mentioned about trying to deal with incidents and trying to recover from other kinds of unexpected failures faster. So this is a big area that takes a lot of pain at organizations. So what have you learned so far that helps as you've been trying to apply an agent-based or AI-based approach?
Well, mainly the importance of context, I would say. So we all know that with an LLM, you have a limited window in terms of what the LLM can know, besides the general information. And building that context in layers and methodically finding ways to improve on that context is the key for us. Before that, we could get recommendations for fixes or alerts that were, say, 50% of the time they were useful. The other 50% was not. Now, if I would try to measure it, which we don't do as accurately as I want, I would say it's closer to 80%, thanks to that layering of creating context, which is basically like creating a library of knowledge, right? So it's a knowledge base that you create. We use a lot of MD files and things like that that we pull from our repos. We kind of auto-generate that stuff. And then we train, or like we build the context up by using obviously past incident information and so on and so forth. Investing in this and taking this really seriously is crucial, I would say. That would be the thing that I would want to emphasize. Context is king.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked a lot about how we've been using it internally. Let's talk a little bit about how we've been using it to support our customers. So we've talked about the support, but also as our customers are picking up and using AI more, what do we need to think about from a platform side? What's on your mind as agents are now starting to commit code and starting to move through our systems and wanting to get that safe path towards production? So let me come over to Shok and hear what is platform product's perspective on this?
So when we first started this whole AI thing, we kind of got lost in what is an AI native workflow, what does it mean to enable it? And it took us quite a while to experiment and a lot of discussions. And one of the conclusions was actually not really about AI, but to how do we enable the product engineers to basically vibe code all the way out to deployment? How do we enable that? So it's not really about us being AI, it's about how do we enable AI. I think that's one of the key points that we learned in the last 3 months especially. And moving forward, it made a lot of things clearer when we got to that point. So moving forward, it'll be easier for us to understand where we need to invest in.
Just out of curiosity, and as folks here are starting to embark on this, why do you think what did it take for us to get that lesson? What was it that caused that aha moment where we started to understand, okay, it's actually more about how we enable than necessarily what we are doing? Yes, yeah.
Just doing it ourselves, probably. I think the general consensus around the world is the whole AI movement is going to blur the lines between a product person and a developer. That's true, that's false in various different degrees. But when you actually do vibe coding, you realize that, yeah, local development it's really easy to do. But then when you try to deploy it to production, that's when the pain starts. Because there's so much things you need to set up, the microservices, all the deployment pipelines, those things that you never set up before in your local pipeline or local environment, you need to do that all over again. So those are the pain points that needs to be addressed. And because of the whole AI movement, the agentic workflows, all that stuff is going to generate a whole lot of PRs. So we already know that the CI is going to be clogged. How do we fix that? So it's not really about AI, like I said, right? It's about how do we improve the CI so that it enables the AI movement. So that's what we learned. Yeah.
Marco, I saw you nodding your head on some of that. Do you want to chime in on what's the SaaS business core experience as the engineers are starting to use?
I was following Shok's thoughts because definitely is how we enable, product engineering organization. As I said before, business core is very close to product engineering. So we are trying to build this software as a service experience, SaaS-like, and the usual approach, you create a developer portal, you expose well-written APIs, documentation, self-service management, observability, tracking cost on your own. With AI, this change, not only because you start talking with agent or the system, I want to have a new notification mechanism, I want to have a new login mechanism, and you basically interact with AI. But my personal vision for the future is basically when the customer will hit the limitation of the functionality we provide, we don't have this new notification mechanism, we can trigger agentic development. So the customer will not only interact dynamically with our services and software, but they will contribute through AI in a more dynamic way. I think this will speed up time to market probably, and enable our stakeholder to deliver and achieve what they want to.
Anri, what does it look like from the cloud infrastructure layer?
So what Marco said and what Shok said as well, it's really obviously very important. But from our perspective, when we take care of the infrastructure as code, we're the ones that manage our large Kubernetes clusters and basically govern all of our cloud resources. So for us, the main thing in this new world, this agentic workflows that we're building, is how do we protect from overspending and over-provisioning resources. So putting the right guardrails in place is where our mind is at. Like, that's our main focus, is like, we know we used to build this platform for humans, and now there's a new actor that is introduced. And these agents, do they have the same accountability? Are they thinking about cost? I would say not. So we need to take that into consideration and build, we need to put the right guardrails in place to be able to prevent the agents going crazy, basically. That's the main challenge for us right now.
Engineering enablement. I mean, your universe has changed quite a lot. It used to be maybe heavily focused on productivity tools, but now we're talking about enablement. When you think about how enablement looks in this new situation where it's not just humans you're enabling, but agents you're enabling, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I think there is a new actor definitely in the story, but the story stay human-centric too, because it's about initially platform engineering is about enabling people to do great things, and we are a function that is for the people that are building the value for the company. So there is this aspect that enabling people that is very important, and that enablement change over time as paradigm change to change. So I just see AI as a new paradigm that we need to be able to enable, understand how to enable it. And the core value that we provide to our people is all the things that are struggles that they should not have to care about, all the toil, all these small operations that are being pebbles in their day-to-day. This is what we should be able to get rid of as much as possible and leverage how AI is actually making us better at removing more of that toil, more of those struggles that everyone have in their day-to-day, so that they can really focus on delivering the business value that the company expects. So from that perspective, I just see as we are trying to figure out ways to use AI as a heavy lifting tool to remove more of that. Code migration is one example. software changes all the time. We have always to make changes for it, and we have to ask sometimes people to do it, and sometimes we have to ask a lot. And if we shouldn't have to ask about it at all, if no one really should have to care about migrations, this is a huge lifting for everyone in the organization to refocus instead of creating the business value. So I think that's where we are trying to focus on how do we maximize all the toil, all the blockers that are in the engineer's life.
As you look at the future, again, when we come back to agents taking more action, what do you think some of the existing paradigms that platform has been built on are going to change? I mean, how will that change? So today, for example, when I think about delivery workflows, there is often this idea that there is a manual vet check before a change will get into production. And that may be viable when you have, 10, 15, 20 changes on a single team, over a period of time. You can throttle those changes into production. But if you have AI agents also participating in this, potentially completely anonymous or outside that team, how does that manual gate work in the future? So some of these paradigms that were built off of old assumptions are going to change. What does that look like? I mentioned delivery, but I'm curious, as you guys have been thinking about this and agents being more and more part of the scene, what are those points that we're going to need to take a step back and say, okay, we need to think about this a little bit differently. We need to approach this problem a little bit differently. So I'll start with you, Raphael.
Yeah, so I think it connects a lot to how do we see agents able to solve those problems, and the different way of people working with software now, that they will spend more and more time on the inner loop side, because now with Cloud Code or another AI IDE, you can do a lot of code generation, but that code generation to get into something that is actually shareable by other people, that you can integrate, that you can deploy, there's a long process in the software development lifecycle. So I think this is about us understanding what we can do to make that new experience of people being able to leverage agents to generate quickly the code, to get enough quality so that it can very easily translate into something that will generate value, that is for the customers, that is deployed, that is not bringing issues from a security standpoint, a stability standpoint. So we talk a lot about guidelines and quality that are embedded directly into the software development lifecycle as early as possible. So we can think of, if I have Claude and I have all my standards for my organization that say, hey, at Mercari, this is how we do high quality software, this is how we do secure software. This is what enables people then to leverage that experience. All the people that have been architects, like very senior engineers, to pack that quality so for anyone to use in the company. And I see the AI agents as a medium to translate that knowledge across the company and then enable everyone to do more than they could before.
No, keep holding the mic. I'm going to ask you more. So you just said something I think really important, which is around standards and around providing context to the agent to make calls on what it should do that are consistent with the expectations we would have of anybody who would be writing code into our systems, right? So that sounds great. How are we doing that?
Yeah, that's the hard question, and that's what we are trying to figure out, right? So back to code migration, because I think this is the most tangible example that we had, is trying to figure out how do we first make sure that we know what is the quality that we provide in the company as of today. I mean, before AI, I mean, we are more than 10 years in this company, and there is a certain way that we are doing software, and we are successful because we have been running at that scale for already a long time. So what is that like quality, that knowledge that we accumulated as an organization, and how do we start capturing it so that we can leverage it more than just someone that knows it in a tribal way, and that makes it hard for others to use. So the key is that we are trying to package that knowledge in a way that we start injecting into AI agents so that they can use that to generate Mercari certified code so that it's seamlessly integrated into our production environment. So that's what we are trying to do, working with our AI task force and PG Double to really get us to achieve that quality as early as possible. But of course, there are lots of challenges around the context management and the clarity of the standards that we have. So we need to spend more time on making sure that we have this definition and understanding of what we consider working software in our company, and then provide it more easily to those new development frameworks.
Okay, Anri, you manage a large part of what keeps Mercari up and available so that everybody can buy wonderful things and utilize our service for generating lots of happiness.
Please use Mercari.
Yes, that's right. What keeps you up at night?
I would say the fear that the more automated we go, right, the more we're trying to make the agents, allow them to do whatever they need to do, because the end goal has been for a long time productivity gains, right? And so we want agents to move faster, right? But for me, of course, and the platform organization, and especially on the infrastructure level, that means you need to build that trust over time. Like, how do you trust an agent? When do you get to the point where you can allow them to merge something automatically, right? The things that I think about is as we progress, and we have right now a PR explosion, right? There's a lot of code being generated. There's too many PRs to be reviewed. We're automating that, right? So that's getting better. Now the final step is we're going to start to merge that stuff into production automatically. Maybe an agent does it behind the scenes. Will that break production, right? And how do we teach the agents to learn from those mistakes, right? These are some of the things that we spend time focusing on right now. And we have some ideas around this, but it's still a work in progress. But it has to do with creating these safe environments for these agents to be able to, try things, break things, learn from those mistakes, and then create the fixes. And then once it's all done and it's stable again, we can kind of, take something from that safe environment and move it to production. These are some of the things that we think about.
So I want to drill into that one.
Sure.
Because I really like this direction that you've been taking it, which is, can you explain a little bit more what do you mean by a safe environment for agents? Yeah, so you can think of, most people will think of a sandbox, right? A safe environment is a sandbox, right? But a sandbox is less useful for an agent in the sense that it is very limited, right? And our production environment is not a sandbox, right? It's very different. So then you think, okay, what if we create something more akin to a digital twin? You could call it, I think that's the popular term, that in the future of AI, we're all going to have a digital twin, right? Doing stuff for us on the internet on its own. But what if you create a digital twin of your production environment? Not a staging environment, right? But something that is much closer to the real thing, that you can allow then agents to fully not just create the code, but also deploy the code, break things and then fix it, and then slowly use the diff between your production environment and the twin and promote features as they get more stable. That way you might be able to find a loop that is much faster than what we currently have today. Because there's a piece that is broken in the chain, and that piece is, of course, merging the PR. We have way too many PRs. We need to auto-merge them. Right? All right, Marco, agents.
Yeah, I think to add on what Anri just said, so from my perspective, because we provide core services, right, there is a lot of expertise and domain knowledge. As per today, AI works because there are humans in the loop. So they review the changes, they say, this is good for the login domain, for the identity domain, this is good for notification. But in the future, when we have multiple agents working while we are sleeping, this cannot happen anymore. So totally agree with what Anri said, digital twin on an environment that is very close. And I think on top of that, as humans, instead of being in the loop, we will continuously inject the context or we'll change the boundaries. So we can monitor the trends in this environment. Maybe it's failing always deploying database. And as humans, we can say, OK, take care of this particular area in a different way. So human in the loops now, in the future, I think a human providing context will be the key.
Shok, what are you looking forward to in the age of agents?
Oh, new question? In the age of agents, early retirement?
All right, guys, we've got about 10 minutes, so I want to start to get some advice from you all. I'm doing some new startup. I want to take everything I can from how Mercari has been doing things, and I'm going to go and create a new platform organization, but I want to focus on one that is AI forward, agent forward, focusing on the way that development might be in the future. What would be some advice from each of you on how I might do that? What should I focus on? What are the problems that are the most important? Yeah, sorry, anybody? Yes, go ahead, Raphael.
Yeah, no, I think for startups, it's a totally different story. I think like for us that are like a 2,000 employee company and already more than 10 years, is we reach a scale where we have very different problems than startup. But I think like generally platform engineering, and I talk from being like 10 years in the field, even doing it in a startup as my first experience, that there is not such thing so much as a platform engineering when you're a startup, because first you have so few people that you will not have someone that is saying, oh, I'm doing platform stuff. And I think it's very good, because this is what we lose when we get at scale, is that we start separating roles and responsibilities, and sometimes way too much. And what is being lost the most is user understanding and empathy. I think when you're a startup, you care about the end users. You don't care so much about your small group of people, but you try to work as much as possible so that you create that user value, you get your customers. And so how do you get efficiently those customers when you need to build your systems? So that means you need to go quickly iterating into what is the system that will support my business getting new customers and making them happy. So everyone is just thinking that way. There is no such person that will say, I will create a database and that's my role. So I think it's very important to keep in mind. And I think even after scaling, that everyone needs to keep that kind of empathy, first for the users of the company, but then the users of the person that we do some kind of platform engineering at some time, so that we understand what is blocking each person in the company to deliver the value to those end users, and keeping that North Star as much as possible, as long as possible, so that we have the best way of delivering that value. And so that's where, over time, we figure out, oh, maybe we need to use the same standard, because the 3 people in the company did totally different implementations and we are slow now. And then maybe we just use the same library. Tomorrow it's like I will use the same database because we have like 5 people being more efficient there. And so from that first principle, as the company grows, to stay focused on those first principles as possible and avoiding over scaling and separating the roles as possible.
So Anri, as you think about maybe mid-sized companies, folks that are in companies that have some established platform organizations, how would you advise them based on the things that we've been learning over the last year of trying to move towards this AI native developer experience? What would be some of your advice?
I think I've shared a lot of concrete things that we're already doing ourselves. But if for startups, it's easier to give advice, I think, because they have obviously less legacy or less baggage, I would say, compared to a larger company. But for mid-sized companies, what I would say is today everyone have the same kind of tools, right? Everyone is using Devin and Gemini CLI, Claude Code, all of that. That's like the new standard anyway. So you're not going to get an edge by using that because everyone is doing that, right? The edge is going to be for the companies that find a way to have agents work while you're sleeping, right? And actually making changes while you guys are not working, right? That's that's going to turn your mid-sized company into a huge company, right? Because you have all these agents doing all that work in the background. And that's the holy grail that we all want to get to, right? But I think there are some clever ways that companies that are smaller can take. I mean, clever, more risky ways that they can achieve this almost today, kind of, right? If they're bold. For instance, like we said, with the digital twin and playing around with the agents, it's a little bit harder for us at Mercari to do that because, again, we have systems that are much larger and they're more complex and so on. So I would just say be bold for the mid-sized companies. Just go for it. And yeah, basically.
All right, Marco, any advice for members in mid-sized or larger-sized organizations?
Any company.
Yeah.
So I think AI is not magic, right? I feel what Kimura-san said during the keynote, think about AI as a new creative team member. Would you send a new team member to ship a feature in production at day one? I don't think so. I mean, you can try, but good luck with that. So you need to onboard the new member. You need to give context to the new member. And I think over time, you need also to track and monitor what are the performance of this new member. And you can shape this new member based on your company, your practices, your company culture as well. So if you think in this way, I think you can make a very effective use of AI.
Shok, product platform, or rather platform product managers in the platform space, right? It's an unusual role, right? Usually product management is more closely associated to the product engineering part of the business. But as you look at other companies that do have product managers or TPMs in the platform space, and they're starting to look at this new field of AI coming in to affect the way the business or development is done, what would be your advice that you would share with folks in the audience to think about and to take back to their companies?
I don't think this is limited to just platform product, but product managers in general don't underestimate the importance of context management. It means anything from code to documentation to business insights to product PRDs, et cetera, because these things get stale very quickly. But when you field stale information to AI, you probably know what happens, right? So how do we manage that to be fresh all the time that AI accesses, or when AI needs to eat that information, how do we make sure that it's fresh? It's something that even startups should have in mind. As for engineering and product together, having a culture of just failing. Just fail, learn, fail again, learn some more, because we don't know what is correct yet. Something might work just because we're lucky. And that, if you're lucky, that's probably not going to continue for more than 6 months. So failing and really understanding what's necessary for your organization is probably different from what Mercari might be. So I think that's something that I could probably give advice to.
Okay, we have about 1 minute left. I'm curious if out of all of you, anybody have a particularly fun or interesting little experience so far over the last 6 months or 9 months of playing with AI personally that you want to share?
Maybe one, I use AI a lot also at home, right? And one day I said, I want to organize something during this weekend. And the AI replied to me, considering your wife saying the name and your 2 kids of this age, you should do something like this. And I reply, I never told you about my wife and my kids. And he said, yeah, you are right. So be careful, guys.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And thank you, everybody, for attending the talk. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We will be over available for conversations and questions afterwards. So please come over, say hi, tell us your stories, poke at all of us. We've been trying to learn along with all of you. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.